Good morning, everyone. This is Natalie, and I am your Sunday co-host for Witches of the Moon. This week, we are finishing up our discussion on Tarot versus Oracle. Now, I'm sure by now this topic's been covered to an exhaustive manner, but I'm going to try to give my spin and try to make it a little bit different than what everybody else has. Tarot and Oracle are both merely forms of divination. There are several forms of divination. You can use runes, you can use tea leaves, you can use numerology, you can use your palm, you can use regular playing cards, you can use tarot cards, oracle cards, you can use angel cards, which are a form of oracle card, you can candle scry, you can mirror scry, you can crystal ball scry, you can toss crystals of particular types and do a reading from that. You have the OM fuse. I mean, there's so many methods of divination. We could probably do 6 weeks or a whole season just on methods of divination. So Oracle versus Tarot are simply two other forms of divination. And a lot of people get them confused because they both use cards. However, there are some key distinct differences. Now, there are in many Oracle cards elements of Tarot. You'll see certain depictions or pictures or scenes that seem very reminiscent of a tarot deck. And I have heard it said on some occasions that tarot cards are always oracle cards, but oracle cards are not necessarily tarot cards. What does that mean? Well, an oracle is a method of receiving messages from the spirit world or from the divine. So if you are looking at tarot in that respect, it is indeed an oracle card. You're seeking guidance and you're using these cards to gain insight to that. However, not all oracle cards are tarot. Tarot follows a specific format. I do believe that, according to the research I've done, the earliest known tarot card decks from Europe came about in the 1300s, somewhere around in there. And it follows a specific format. There are a specific number of cards. There are 78 cards. You have the minor arcana and the major arcana. I believe there are 12 to the major. It's been a while since I've used tarot, so I'm still kind of relearning all of that. It's literally been almost 30 years since I've used a tarot deck, until recently. Those of you that have watched some of my videos on my personal channel, you kind of know why. I had a tarot deck that was gifted to me, literally by a gypsy. I know that sounds ridiculous. When I was about 11 years old, and I was using it and getting pretty good with it, and my mother, who was a devout Christian, found them one day in my hiding place and burnt them. So I never owned another deck. It is said that to have truly magical value in your reading, especially readings for other people, your tarot deck should be gifted to you. Some people believe that, some don't. That's what I was taught. That's what I was told, so that's what I go by. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of a tarot deck that I was recently gifted. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this very well. Sorry, I have a window right in front of me, so it's the lighting in here is really... Okay, so this is the back of the card. These are the fronts of the cards. The major arcana in this one is numbered. And these are all these. You also have suits in a tarot card. And usually it can either be knights, queens, still kind of learning that, pages or something like that. Not everybody uses all of those cards. To be honest with you, some people drop the excess cards and only use those of the major arcana. But there are 78 cards in the deck, and it's divided out into the two groups and then subdivided. The extra cards, the minor arcana, are subdivided into 4 groups of suits. So if you're using playing cards, it'd be your diamonds, clubs, hearts, and diamonds, hearts, spades, and clubs. So you can think of it that way. Some people divide it out under the elements: water, air, fire, and earth. So that's how that divides out. Now, oracle cards, on the other hand, and I'm going to show you the oracle deck that I got from Lady Jane Bewitchery's giveaway. This is a beautiful oracle deck. Now, It came with a book. Almost all tarot decks have a book available that explains the meanings of the cards. So if you're unfamiliar with the meanings, you can learn them. This, you can't see this, this is a beautiful gold trimmed deck of oracle cards. Each card has a title, but there's not much else. They're all numbered. All of them are numbered. Now, the biggest difference between oracle cards and tarot cards is the number of cards. There are fewer oracle cards than there are tarot cards. These cards can be divided, but they don't have to be. So you don't necessarily have a major arcana and minor arcana. The thing about the oracle cards that I think is the biggest thing is these tend to be more freeform. Now, when I am doing a reading on either, I am an intuitive reader. I like to look at the card and get a feel for what it means to me and to the particular situation. This one is entitled Protecting Treasures, but to me it almost looks like she's trying to hide from the elements as well. She's trying to hide everything from the elements. So, herself as well as her treasure. Whereas the little bird, he's just sort of sitting out here. That could be a lesson for her. It would depend on the question, and it would depend on the situation that the questioner is asking. Now, when you're doing an intuitive reading, it doesn't matter which deck you use. It doesn't matter which card you use, because you're going off of the question that the person has in their mind, and you're simply interpreting what comes out. Now, it's up to the person that you're doing the reading for to apply that meaning to their life. I am not a fortune teller, and I want to explain a little bit of difference about divination and fortune telling, because a lot of people associate both oracle cards and tarot cards strictly with fortune telling. And you do have the Gypsy Witch fortune telling cards. I recently gifted my set to someone else in a Samhain swap, and I liked them. They're okay. It teaches you how to use regular playing cards as fortune telling cards, but I'm not really into fortune telling, because the problem with fortune telling is that the future is never set. It can always be changed. When we do divination with tarot or oracle, or really with anything, it's not so much to predict the future as it is to understand the patterns that are forming in the spirit world and how our current actions and past actions may affect the outcome in the future. What is the likely outcome of the future if things stay as they are, or on the course that they are currently on? Because it helps to guide us in making those decisions which are going to shape our future. And I think that is something very, very, very important and key to understand. When you go to a carnival, you go to something like that, you're getting a fortune teller. They're going to predict your future using whatever method it is they're using, whether it's crystal ball or tarot cards or what have you. That's not what I do when I'm using these. I am trying to gain guidance for a particular situation at a particular moment of time. So it may require more than one reading. If you're making certain decisions based on that, you may have to do a follow-up reading to see, is this taking this in the direction I should be going, or did I misinterpret the first reading and I need to go this way with whatever I saw. A lot of my readings I do for myself. I've done some readings for my daughter and for a few friends in the past, but as a rule I don't do paid readings, that kind of thing. So if you're talking about tarot versus oracle, which is better, which is best, really depends on personal preference and your personal knowledge. I do suggest that you take your time in finding something you connect with. Find a deck that feels comfortable to you, that you seem drawn to, and go from there. Don't just pick up any deck out of the aisle and say this is it, or tell somebody send me any deck you can. You want a deck that you can kind of connect with, something that draws you to it. There should be a meaning there for you, or a connection of some sort, and you'll feel it. For me, it's in my hands. If something has meaning for me, or if it connects with me, my hands tingle in the palms. I know that sounds really weird, but definitely I feel a charge, almost like an electric charge when I touch it. So I'm really excited about this new deck, the Tarot of the Princess, that I got from my friend Kristen Horn. Gosh, I wish this was better. Here we go. This seems to be the best place. I'm excited about learning about this deck. This is one I've never seen before, so I'm really kind of like the artwork. It's pretty, it's colorful, feels good in the hand. I'm excited to get to know this deck a little better. I was using the Dreamers Tarot that Amy Webster sent me, and I have really enjoyed that. I also have the Halloween Tarot that my wonderful cousin Trina sent me, Sunshine Morning Ray. She sent me this one, and I love it, and you can see the boxes. I'm going to have to make a bag for these because obviously that's getting used. I haven't had as much of an opportunity to sit down and look at the oracle cards. I do like them. The couple of readings I've done with them have been good for me in terms of they've been accurate, not necessarily a positive outlook, but they've been accurate. So I enjoy them. Like I said, I'm a bit of an intuitive reader either way I go. I don't necessarily follow the book. I go with what I feel from the card. If you're going to do that, oracle cards may be your preference. I like them both. What I do is I go with what feels right at the moment with my reading. I don't have a preference. So the major differences are just that tarot is a little more formal in its layout. Oracle cards are a little more free-formed and open to interpretation. They both come with books that kind of explain the cards or the author's meaning behind the cards, because each deck varies a little bit in how the author and the illustrator decided to interpret the particular meanings for those cards, which is why I encourage you to maybe read over the book and be a little familiar with the deck, but go with your instinct and what a meaning means to you, how it applies. So I hope that wasn't totally rambly and confusing. If you have questions, post them below, and I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. Blessed be.